Welcome back to Rob Schmitt Tonight. Time now for a special edition of News from the Left. Curtis Houck, managing editor of Newsbusters, joins us now for tonight's edition. Curtis, good to see you.
Good to be with you, Rob.
All right, so we're going to start off. CNN's Brian Stelter, always a pretty easy target, appeared on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert this week. It had, of course, all the markings of possibly the worst episode of television ever produced, and it did not disappoint. Running defense for his buddy Chris Cuomo, here's the phoniest media reporter in North America, Brian Stelter. Take a listen to this.
Some people are mad at him. By the way, I can confirm the New York Times report. I'll confirm it for your viewers. I also have a source that says Chris was on the phone with his brother this week.
Is your source Chris Cuomo?
He is not. He is not. You got to have boundaries. You got to draw a line.
Why? He doesn't.
I think he does, actually.
Really?
I think Chris does. I don't know about the governor.
What?
So a pretty sad attempt there, Curtis, to spin the story after it came out that Cuomo was advising his scandal-embroiled governor brother. What do you make of that?
When Stephen Colbert says, oh, that's a little bit of a bridge too far, and actually asks basic questions that one could use the word journalism to describe them, you know something's messed up here. You know, Fredo has lost 41% of his female viewers in the last year, which is an astounding number. Wow. The idea that there's no boundaries or there's no playbook or that we're in uncharted territory with the Cuomo brothers is absolutely laughable for Brian Stelter. Kovac and Rosenstein, elements of journalism, you know, this is like J-school stuff that journalists supposedly pay a lot of money to go to. And we're just going to throw that out the window or say that there's no playbook for this kind of situation. Yes, of course there is. It's called conflicts of interest. And clearly, Brian Stelter doesn't have a problem with it because the Cuomos are on his team.
Of course. Yeah. Everybody said, how would you handle this if it happened at a conservative network? And it's a completely different story. I mean, it's like, why have a media reporter if he can't even look objectively at media? I mean, it's like, what's the point of this guy? There's no purpose for him to even exist.
Yeah.
Speaking of Chris Cuomo, to stay on topic, take a look at, we got some video here. This is Chris partying at a nightclub in the Hamptons, which is fine. Go do your thing, party, dance if you want to dance. The video was taken 2 weeks before the report on his brother dropped, so it's a couple weeks old now. But the irony of that video, Curtis, is that 5 days before that video was taken, where he's partying at a club with people all around, he actually tweeted this out in response to an article about taking COVID seriously, which is at the bottom, talking about a Fox News host. Cuomo wrote, "Good. Now, call out when party people say otherwise." So basically, he's saying to all those irresponsible people that are out partying and not treating this as a pandemic, and then just a few days later, he's at a club dancing around in the Hamptons. You can't make it up.
Well, first, I would call that a little booze dancing, and he looks like he's by himself there.
He's got a couple boys with him, but yeah, he's definitely having a good time.
He's not really paying attention. But anyway, you know, and we should point out, speaking of, out in the Hamptons, it was just the other day when a FoxNews.com reporter went up to him, and Chris kind of implied that he would sick the state troopers on him if he asked him any more questions about his brother. So it's one set of rules for them, one set of rules for the rest of us. You look at the Obama's party, you know, and I should remind people that the whole reason we're going back to masks and talking about lockdowns and vaccine mandates is because of a bunch of people at Bear Week in Provincetown, Massachusetts, got COVID in a series of breakthrough cases. I'll spare viewers what that means, but you can feel free to use the internet to look that up here. But again, it's really incredible. And I think, Rob, the important thing is they know that we know that they're committing, you know, double standards left and right. That they know that
the Obama party was the epitome of it. I mean, that just to me was it was something else to see. Through all of that, everybody had their eyes focused on that thing, and then they come out and they say we're going to scale it back. And then, you know, a couple days later, they start putting up these massive tents. And it's like, are we taking this seriously or not? Because the biggest name in the Democrat Party is saying, screw this, I'm partying for my birthday. You know, it's like he's saying, I'm partying. So, you know, I just, that was such bad messaging on behalf of that entire party that's trying to tell everybody that we need to lock down, that we need to be more careful, that we need to do all these things, get vaccinated and still wear masks. And then Obama throws the party. To change subject here, MSNBC's Joy Reid another fun target. Doesn't like white people, obviously. Talks about that all the time on her show, reminds us nearly every day on her show of that. Also, despises the Republican Party, says things like the GOP is harboring an insurgency and it is a white nationalist insurgency. And then she made a claim that school children were in danger of dying from COVID if anti-mask mandate parents get their way. Take a listen to this.
There are kids, first of all, too young to get vaccinated.
Right.
And then there are also kids who have pre-existing conditions who could die from COVID. And there are screaming, sometimes violent parents saying they want no mask mandates and they want to be able to send unmasked, potentially contagious kids to school.
So she's obviously taken from a very, very small sampling of people. I mean, what I think this indicates is the craziness as it's come of this virus is that we have gotten to the point now where even if there's a chance that we're like Sydney, Australia, even if there's a chance that one person could get sick or one person could die, we should all barricade ourselves in our homes to prevent that. And they've taken this is flipped from being slowing the spread, just making sure hospitals can manage it, to now do everything in our power to prevent anybody from ever getting COVID forever on a continuum.
Yeah, the real science here is COVID should now be labeled an endemic, where it's something that's around, but we know how to defeat it, and we know how to make sure that people don't die from it. But with Joy Reid, this is more criminalization of political diversity, Rob. You know, it's saying your opponents not only want to kill people, but want to commit genocide against an entire state.
Right.
Let alone a virus is dangerous. And I'll pull out two locations that really reminds me shows the stakes of Joy Reid's kind of rhetoric. Family Research Council in the ball field in Alexandria. That is the kind of rhetoric that Joy Reid is encouraging that, as we've seen, has almost deadly consequences here. And people are going to get hurt. But, you know, this is what the left talks about. You know, they made claims Sarah Palin almost killed Gabby Giffords 10 years ago, and they never apologized for that. But it's always about civility and decency.
And you can honestly, I mean, again, we used this example a couple weeks ago, but it's something like 40,000 people in this country die in car accidents. If we treated car accidents the way we're treating COVID right now, you would not be allowed to drive a car, and anybody that wanted to drive a car would be labeled as somebody that's out there trying to kill people. You could do the same thing. You know, I mean, it's not apples to apples, but it's very, very similar in a lot of ways. Curtis Houck, good to see you as always. Thank you so much for joining us.
Anytime, Rob.
Take care.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.